How we doing, guys? And it is official. Christian Nørgaard is an Arsenal player. The deal is done. It's complete. And Arsenal have signed the Brentford captain for a fee of around about £9 million. And that's before, obviously, add-ons and whatnot, which could accumulate up to £5 million. But listen, it's a very, very good deal. And I spoke about this in one of my DT's Daily episodes. And I'm all for it at the end of the day. And I know it's going to be one of those signings where people look at and they kind of think, I'm not too sure. It's not a big name. It's this or it's that. And listen, at the end of the day, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of things mentioned about how he's replacing Partey and all the rest of it. Let me just try and break this down and explain it in detail for all of you that are very, very confused, or you're just deliberately not trying to understand the situation. Martin Zubimendi was brought into Arsenal to replace Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey was going to be moved down the pecking order as the number 2 defensive midfielder, and he would then replace Jorginho, who obviously left. Now, as it transpires, Thomas Partey's not staying, he's leaving, whatever the reasons are. So we then needed to get somebody in to replace Thomas Partey technically, but ultimately somebody to replace Jorginho. Okay, because that was the role that Thomas Partey was replacing. So when people say, but we're not going to win the league with Christian Nørgaard, and we've not brought Christian Nørgaard in to be first choice and to take us to the next level and win the league. We've spent nearly £60 million on Martin Zubimendi to do that. And for everybody that says, but these ain't better than Thomas Partey and they ain't going to win you the league, and Thomas Partey never won us the league. So you're kind of contradicting yourself there. I'm not dismissing Thomas Partey as a player and what he has brought to the club in bits and starts and whatever, because there's been injuries and everything else. But at the end of the day, I feel the best years of Thomas Partey were behind him. And the reason why Arsenal brought in Martin Zubimendi, because they know that as well. But would Thomas Partey have been an able and more than capable number 2 to play behind Martin Zubimendi? Yes, he would have been. But for whatever reason, like we've explained, hasn't happened. Too much wanting of wages, whatever it might be. I don't know the whole ins and outs. But Arsenal have had to act, and they've acted accordingly. And they brought in a very good and a very experienced player. And for a very cheap price. And a player that will be on very low wages as well. So when I look at it, I think it all makes sense. So just remember, Christian Nørgaard is not replacing Thomas Partey, who was first choice. Martin Zubimendi is replacing Thomas Partey. Christian Nørgaard is technically replacing Jorginho. You understand it now? Do I need to break it down anymore? My word, it's like talking to brick walls, isn't it? But yeah, listen, Danish international, made his name at Brøndby, was there for around about 5 years before he got moved to Fiorentina. Didn't work out there, was only there for the year, only made about 6 appearances. And then he went to Brentford in 2019, helped Brentford get to the Premier League. And he's been an ever-present. And the last couple of years, he's been captain of the side. And when you look at his play, he's very, very defensive-minded. Likes to do the ugly stuff and the dirty work and everything else. And he's very much an underrated player. And I was thinking about, it's only been in recent years that kind of defensive midfield area has kind of been a bit more talked about. It's kind of been an area over years where you don't really speak about a defensive midfielder, especially if you play for a team that have got an array of attacking players. Then they're very much the last person everybody speaks about. And I think the prime example of that as an Arsenal fan and knowing it all too well would probably be Gilberto Silva. I remember when he was playing for us, and he was so underrated, never spoke about, ever. But it was obvious why he was never spoke about when you look at the players that Arsenal had in an attacking sense back then with your Henrys and whatnot. You're not going to be speaking about a defensive midfielder when you've got like that amount of unbelievable players in front of him. But yeah, it's one of those. And I suppose it's the same at Brentford in many respects. And, you know, Nørgaard just goes about his business, does his job, but everybody will talk about, you know, the likes of Umbreno, the likes of Ivan Toney when he was there, the likes of Wissa, you know, all of these players that score the goals and do all of the things that win matches. And yeah, you don't really notice those ones doing all the dirty work. And that's kind of what player he is. And I mentioned this in my episode of DT's Daily as well, but it'd be interesting to see Nørgaard and Martinelli. We remember, listen, Martinelli's not that type of person that's obviously going to hold a grudge or anything. It'd be a new teammate, so it wouldn't be an issue. But obviously there was something last year. The tackle by Nørgaard on Martinelli wasn't a great tackle, should have been a red card. And Martinelli said after that if his leg was planted, it would have broke his leg. But, you know, Nørgaard apologized and said he didn't mean it. And he accepted the apology and accepted that, you know, in football, these kind of things do happen, and that he takes his word that he never meant it and there was no malice behind it and whatnot. So, yeah, it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple, and he moves on. But I just think this is very smart business by Arsenal at the end of the day. When you look at everything else that they've been doing at the moment and the moves they're making, it's all very, very smart business. And that's exactly what we've done with Nørgaard. At the end of the day, it's very, very smart business. We've got a very good player in, and we've moved quickly to get it done. It's that simple. So I'm all for it, haven't got an issue with it, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in the red and white of Arsenal. So there we go. Welcome to the Arsenal, Christian Nørgaard. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this signing. Are you happy with it? Do you understand it? Or are you one of these that still just doesn't get it? I don't know. So listen, there we go. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button, smash a like on this video, and I will see you lot very soon. I'm out of here.